The House will attend to the Governor's veto message on House Bill 86, relative to voting on variances. Question is, notwithstanding the Governor's veto, shall House Bill 86 become law? Chair recognizes the member from Dunbarton, Representative Hole, to speak against or in favor of the override. Oh, excuse me, to sustain, speaking to sustain the Governor's veto.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, I believe the Governor got this one right. When we think about local control, when we think about the fact that our current zoning boards could do what this bill is attempting to do on their own. They could vote individually through these things if they wanted to, but we don't need to mandate that from the state. Basically, this entire bill comes down to one sentence starting at line 30, where they will have to individually go through each variance, voting on each of the criteria in subparagraph 1A2 separately. This will slow down the process of getting zoning approval. This will make additional hardships on families and businesses who want to build and need a zoning variance. The Governor got it right. Let's stand and sustain his veto. Thank you.
Chair recognizes the member from Hollis, Representative Belanger, to speak in favor of the override.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Variances. A municipality adopts an ordinance to govern its future. State law allows a zoning board to overrule that ordinance by granting a variance. State law is very clear. It lists 5 specific criteria needed to overrule the community's zoning ordinance. It's called the variance. Imagine the state's setting a speed limit and someone wants to legally exceed it. Should permission to do that be easy to get? I think not. So a zoning board meets and hears arguments as to why each one of those 5 criteria are met and a variance should be granted. I won't go over each of the 5 criteria because you're probably already familiar with them. But each is so important as to be listed individually in state law. Now, in 2016, House Bill 1203 was introduced to bring attention to this issue. It required the same 3 members to agree that each of the 5 criteria for granting a variance had been met. It passed in committee 14-3. It passed the House on the consent calendar. It was ITL'd in the Senate. So House Bill 86 is a second try with some different stipulations. This one only required any 3 members to vote that each criteria had been met, not the same 3. Majority, if you will. Addressing how much time this ties up is a little odd to me, because when we sit at a zoning board meeting in my community, the chairman says, all those in favor of criteria 1 has been met, vote aye. All those for criteria 2, 3, 4, 5, and that takes less than 1 minute. House Bill 86 was ought to pass as amended 15-0 in committee. It passed this House on the consent calendar. It was ought to pass as amended in the Senate and the Senate floor, and the House concurred on the Senate amendment. It was vetoed by the Governor. I like the Governor. I stood at the dump with him, and I'd do it again, so I'm not here to bash the Governor. We just don't seem to be in agreement on this issue. The Governor cited the method of voting would make it too difficult for builders and developers to get a variance, and voting would take too long. Why should the dictates and ruling of a municipality in its zoning ordinance be easy to get? especially from those who may be seeking financial gain and may not even be residents of the community. When a variance request is denied, the applicant has a right to know which of the 5 criteria was the issue, so they can either come back or appeal on that one criteria, not be wondering which one the board didn't agree to. Now, getting a 2/3 vote on a veto override is not easily obtained, and I have been advised not to go against my governor. But I'm not here to please my governor, although I like him a lot, but I'm here to represent my community, and that is what I'm doing today. I'll campaign for the governor again, but in this case I have written to him and suggested he was misinformed and should publicly agree. And I informed him that I'm submitting the same bill again in 2018 because it passed both chambers this year. Thank you.
The question is, notwithstanding the governor's veto, shall House Bill 86 become law? Excuse me, did not see the question. Representative Abrami, does the member yield to a question?
Yes.
Member yields. Representative Abrami, you may inquire.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for taking my question. Right now, how many cities and towns vote just one question versus the 5? Do you know off the top of your head? No? Does anybody? No. Okay. All right. Does anybody in your committee know?
The question was to the representative, and the representative does not know.
Okay, thank you.
Question is, notwithstanding the governor's veto, shall House Bill 86 become law? Per the Constitution, this will be a roll call vote. Members are asked to make sure that their voting stations are on. At the present time, our count is going up, then up. We are above the required number for majority vote, but however, this is an override which is 2/3 anyhow. So glad to see almost 300 people present today. Members will take their seats. Question is, notwithstanding the governor's veto, shall House Bill 86 become law? The chair recognizes Representative Bates for parliamentary inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. If I believe that in the governor's veto message, he articulated very valid reasons for vetoing House Bill 86, and if I know that right now local zoning boards can already do what this legislation sought to require, and if, like the governor, I believe in the principle of local control and do not want to impose a statewide, one-size-fits-all procedural mandate upon local zoning boards and how they conduct their business, Mr. Speaker, if I want to support the good decision of our governor, our long-awaited Republican governor, would I now press the red button and vote no to overriding the governor's veto?
The question is, notwithstanding the governor's veto, shall House Bill 86 become law? If you are in favor, you'll press the green button. If you're opposed, you'll press the red button. Chair recognizes Representative Spang for a parliamentary inquiry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if I know that not every zoning board of adjustment understands the criteria that they're being asked to vote on, and that a discussion about each one of them will give them the opportunity to take a serious look at each of those criteria. And furthermore, if I understand that local control should really rest with the people of the town, and that the people of the town are the ones who have passed these zoning ordinances, and that the ZBA has a special charge to make sure that they are not allowing any variance from the will of the people of the town without very good reason, would I then press the red button to I'm sorry. Would I then press the green button to override the governor's veto? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The question is, notwithstanding the governor's veto, shall House Bill 86 become law? This is a roll call vote. If you are in favor of overriding the governor's veto, you will press the green button. If you are opposed to overriding the veto, you will press the red button. Voting stations will be open for 30 seconds. If all members voted who were present when the question was put, the House will attend to the state of the vote. There having been 115 votes in the affirmative, 165 in the negative, the question fails. The veto is sustained.